Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for those who don't know, I'm Alicia and I've been interviewing people and businesses to find out how and why they inspire others. This week I interviewed world karate champion Phil Moulton to find out how he became the person he is today and how he overcame bullying when he was younger. Here's how it went. First of all, hello and welcome to the channel. To begin with, if you could just introduce yourself, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Phil Moulton, born in 1960, so it gives you an idea. I'm 60 years of age. I've been in close protection for 20 odd years, nearly 27 years. And basically, I'm a lad from North Manchester, brought up on a council estate. I wanted to aspire to something, was always told I was never going to get anywhere. And just wanted to achieve something. So I come across the industry purely by fluke. One of my old friends that I was teaching as a karate student many years ago, and said you would end up being a good minder. In those days, I think it was Dennis Waterman who was playing the actual part in the film Minder, and I wondered what it was, and then just explored from there, and it just went from there. So yeah, this is me, Phil Moulton. This person, done a little bit in my time, but there you go. That's who I am.
So you mentioned
Sorry.
that you grew up in North Manchester. What was your life like as a youngster?
I suppose, like anyone in those days in the 60s, it was quite hard, and that's just called life, I suppose. You know, people get the knocks and the bumps and everything like that. It was quite a difficult time, and you know, there was no real direction for people. People just went to work. There was no really careers apart from if you had a career behind you, etc. And you know, it was quite a hard upbringing. The estate that I was living on was called Middleton Langley, it was renowned anyway for being quite, should we say, rum. So it was testing, should we say. So you grew up, and you had to go through the pits and the falls and etc. So like anyone in these days and age, we've all got a story to tell, and it was a good lesson to learn anyway. You know, and it made me a decent person.
You were bullied, and
Yes.
you said in your book, I've got it here actually. So you said in your book that a lot of the
Yeah.
people who sort of bullied you were meant to be your friends, and then you kind of found out that they weren't your friends at all. Did you ever find that difficult later on in life, learning to trust people? Because obviously you've had a close friendship and they've betrayed that trust.
It was to be quite fair. It was very difficult because, and again, bullying comes in a number of different ways. And I was bullied where basically I got some good beatings by groups of lads because of my situation. Lone parent. I had no father. My father passed away when I was very young. God bless him. And I was brought up in a situation where people um, preyed on people, and they didn't really understand what they were doing. They just sort of like beat me up and everything. And it wasn't like ones or twos. It was a decent good hiding, should we say. And that sort of led me into belief because they were friends. A lot of these people were good friends, and I think the trust thing, like you've just said there, you've hit the nail right on the head, is very difficult to trust, and that's gone all the way through my career as a close protection person as well, because you get to a situation or a status in life, and people think of you, oh, you're doing really well for yourself. Let's take a pot shot at you, and that's what people do. These weak-minded people, they have a good go at people and say, well, you know, you come from nothing, so you're probably going to amount to nothing anyway. It's only when you bite back, and it would have been so easy, Alicia, for me to bite back in the wrong way. As you can see, I've done a lot in karate. Karate's given me a good discipline. I started in 1970, so this is my 50th year in karate. And I am one of the highest ranks in the UK as an eighth dan, a real eighth dan. There's a lot of people who grade themselves, but I've gone through the grading process, got the certificate, stood in front of people, etc. So bullying is made me a stronger person. It could have gone the other way, but it has made me a stronger person. And I won't say, you know, I'm happy that I was bullied, but at the end of the day, it's made me a person that I am. And I've ended up looking after people who, through my job, I've looked after them because they were bullied in one way or another.
So how did you turn that around to be a positive thing? So kind of take a negative situation, turn it into something good? Because there's a lot of people out there who are probably in the same situation as what you have been in, and they don't know what to do in that situation. So how have you done it?
I think I was quite fortunate in those days because there was nothing. I mean, karate was just, and kung fu was coming out with Bruce Lee and all the other stuff, but that was coming into the new era, should we say, where people were just finding the Bruce Lee, the David Carradine, and all the other things that were out there. And I come across it by a book, and you know, it's written in my book, so I'm not going to be a spoiler spot and spoil it for everyone. But it is written in the book, and it basically gave me a path to follow. So karate was something where I learned because people relate bullying to getting a thump or a crack or a good hiding, etc. So I thought, well, I'm going to condition myself so that I can tolerate that. So I built my own striking boards, my own punch bag, and I was out there all the time. And I learned from a book originally because I come from a one-parent family, very, very modest, you would say, and you had to scrimp and scrape to get where I was. So that gave me something where I thought, oh, I can do this. And it's something where people can take a little bit of comfort and think, well, I've got some strength in that. And it's quite difficult for people to get the mindset. So it's all about the mindset. It's nothing about the muscles. It's nothing about how tough you are. You've got to have a strong mindset and be disciplined to focus on your way forward. So I was quite fortunate that I grew up in an era where martial arts wasn't really known then, apart from judo and jiu-jitsu and then obviously the karate and the kung fu. So the mindset at a young age, I became a sponge, and I thought, right, I'm going to go somewhere with this, and that's what I did. And I didn't do it intentionally. It wasn't. I sat up one day and thought, oh, I'm going to go for this. It just went into my head, and I thought, I'm not going to be bullied anymore. And that's how I come across. And for a person like myself in the job that I've been in, I suppose it's quite unique or unusual for a person to say, you know, I was bullied, I had a good hiding every now and again, not quite regular, but that toughened me up, and it does toughen you up in a number of different ways.
Would you say that karate wasn't just to protect yourself, it was sort of an escape from being bullied as well? It's something, you just mentioned your mindset. That's the reason why I ask, to kind of get your mind into it, and it's something away from what's actually happening.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because karate, a lot of people think karate is walking up and down, punching, kicking, and blocking, etc. And it's not. It is a real mindset. It's a journey. It's an art. It's not a sport. And obviously, you compete at every level. I fought at every single level, from the national, regional, even to world titles, etc. So it is a mindset, and you have to have that mindset in place. So if people are going through the mill, should we say, it's changing your mindset. You know, it's stepping out that comfort box and thinking, right, what am I going to do? You can either go one way or the other. And most people think if they're getting bullied, they have to relate it back to violence, and it's not. It's becoming a stronger person, because the person who's actually bullying you, they're weaker. They're bullying you because they want to be stronger than you. So it's rising above that and thinking, well, you're bullying me because you're probably a little bit jealous of me because of my status, because of what I can do at my job, etc. And through my career, because I've come from Langley, I'm very proud of that, by the way. Most people think, oh, but I've come from a real hard background, and I'm proud of where I come from because it's made me the person that I am. And I've had the knocks and the bumps and the kicks and all the other stuff. Going through business, people say, Phil Moulton, never achieve anything. But when I look around in my little bar where I'm sat at this moment in time, I'm thinking, well, do you know something? I'm not saying I'm proving you wrong. I've proved actually that I can do it. And that's the sort of mentality that you've got to have. Not that I'm going to beat you. I'm going to prove that I can do it. I've got self-belief in me. And that, again, that comes from this book. I mean, the book took me 10 years to write. Not that I'm a slow writer. I used to write it on the beach when Nadia was sunbathing. I'd scribble notes, and it wasn't intentional as a book. I wanted to sort of like audit myself and get out all the nonsense in your head. And that's a tame version that you've actually read, because if we actually put in the real, a lot of the stuff, people have been ducking down from a lot of people. But it's not proving them wrong. It's proving that you can do it, having your own self-belief. And you know, that's the way I am at this moment in time.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, where it's your own self-belief and you have to believe in yourself to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. I got this little award. I don't know if you've seen this. This was awarded to me. It was nominated. I was nominated by one of my students, and it was the Outstanding Social Behaviours Award 2020 for the most positive role model. And it was presented to a friend of mine because I was away on holiday. And it's quite ironic that, really, because I've got a little piece of glass there, and I've got all the tinware around me and all the trophies and everything. But that means so much to me, because I'm not trying to be an advocate of positivity. What I'm saying is, you know, people can achieve things that you want to achieve. And that's all I am about. I am a humble person, and I'm told constantly I'm too humble. Some of my clients have actually, that I've looked after, said, "Phil, you're too quiet, you're too modest." And that's the way I train, and that's the way I work. I'm not an upfront person. I'm very, very discreet in what I do. Apparently not so bad.
So a couple of questions ago, you mentioned about when you learned karate, you learned it from a book. Did you ever think that once you had that book, that would in theory shape your entire life?
Not at all, not at all. When I actually got the book, I started reading the book, and I never actually thought, because there was like positions where you would put your feet, and I never thought, well, I can do this, I would do this, I would. My main aim at the point was to become a black belt.
Okay.
Never thought I would achieve what I've achieved, but that was my main aim, to become a black belt, nothing else.
When you were competing, you were working sort of 4 jobs at one time. How did you stay focused to still be successful in your karate career?
I think it comes down to having a passion. You've got to have that passion inside you to want to actually compete and to win. It's not just the winning, because sometimes you win more by losing because it's a lesson. And the guys who actually got me into the World Karate Championship, we actually seen it advertised, and I thought, yeah. And the lads who I was working with or training with at the time were a load of police lads, and they were saying, "No, you'll never do it." Anyway, I trained, and I just thought to myself, I'm going to do it. And it was that mindset of, I've got to achieve it. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, and it's called No Minds.
Okay.
It's a bit out there with people, but it's basically what the Japanese use. Arnold Schwarzenegger has used it, and I think Arnold Palmer, the golfer. And it's basically seeing the end product before you've actually achieved it. So you're actually doing something and you're achieving something. Yeah. So it is basically your visualization. It's the visualization of seeing something. So it's visualizing what you see. And I listen to a lot of the NLP, a lot of the motivational speakers, and they use something very similar. And it's basically visualizing the end product. Because if you're visualizing, you can actually see something. And then you've got to focus on that. And I've used that in karate a lot. I mean, I've done some tile breaking. I broke the world record in, I think it was 97, 98. I broke 1,025 roof tiles in 90 seconds. We'll actually send you the clip, the YouTube clip of me doing 872. That was in 70 seconds. That's for kids in Bosnia. And people say, how do you do that? Does it hurt? Well, no, it doesn't hurt. It's just basically a focus of doing something. And everyone's got a different skill. And my skill is what I do.
So with your visualization, do you visualize that whilst you're like competing or the day before?
I do a lot of visualization before we do anything, because obviously once you get onto the mat, you switch on. You know, you turn it on, and that's it. You're doing the job. And it's exactly the same as when you're actually working as well. You've got to visualize something, and you're seeing that product. You know, you're seeing it develop. So what I normally do before I compete, I sit quietly. I don't meditate when you sat there. I basically probably meditate in a different way when I'm just sat there very quietly. I remember when I actually went for my black belt, and it's in the book. I sat in a quiet room where everyone else was chatting and gabbing and everything else, having a laugh and a joke. And I sat there in a corner with my ripped gi on, and I just sort of visualised what I was going to do. And that was it. I just sort of saw myself on the line, competing, doing what I had to do. Like many thousands of black belts, I've probably done exactly the same. But a lot of lads and lasses don't even realise that they're doing it. It's everything that you do, you've got to visualise what you're actually doing. Once you visualise, you can see it actually happening, and then you go from there. It's like when you're competing. If you compete in a certain way and somebody twitches, you've got to be able to read that body language. So it's getting into that visualisation all the time when you compete. A sprinter does exactly the same. There was something that was on a tube that I was listening to, and they wired a sprinter up, and they told him to run, but not run, just visualising in his mind, and basically all the muscles fired exactly the same way as though he was running. So it's a visualisation all the time, and that's the same karate.
That is really interesting. You then gave up your most well-paid job to go and do what I was doing. Well, that takes a lot of self-belief and motivation. So was there any sort of time when you doubted that decision?
Basically, I gave up a job. I gave up a roofing job. I had my own local business, etc. And I always wanted to get into coastal protection. That's what I wanted to do. And you see the stereotyping of people, and we spoke about it. And you know, you've interviewed a good friend of mine, Moulton, who've known for donkey's years, and he exactly the same thing. Said that there's a lot of stereotyping, and I didn't want to break the mold. I don't want to say that. I don't want to be rude to people, but I wanted to bring something different to the table. As a civilian, I've never been in the military. Never professed to be in the military or the police or anything like that. I'm a civilian, and I've worked my way through the job as a minder, for people what to call me minder, but then going into close protection. There was a point in my life, and I thought to myself, well, I want to change of career. So basically, that's what I've done. I ended up writing one of the first courses, which was based on the civilian aspect. I ran that from a company called Mancat. And it was a fully accredited course as well before the new licenses come in. So I was teaching CP, or Bodyguard, you know what we want to call it, from 2000 up to 2005. Then the new licenses come in. But I was working as a civilian. So I was teaching the civilian aspects of it, rather than the military side of it and the police side of it. But I've had lots of friends and colleagues, and we're still friends and colleagues from the military, the armed forces, the police, who've actually come through my training course because they have to get the ticket. So they come out of the army, they come out of the police, and they have to come through me or another accredited centre to get the license. Exactly the same.
Okay. And was there ever like a time where you completely doubted that decision? Like, it sounds like you did really well straight away, but was there any time when you thought, like, what am I doing?
Quite a few times. There was quite a few times when I thought, what the hell am I doing? Because you feel like a very small fish in a very big pond. Because obviously you've got the military lads, you've got the police lads, and they're some folk tend to look down on you by saying, you know, you're a civilian. you can't cut it, etc. But there's a couple of folk out there, and I won't mention his name, but he'll know exactly who he is. He was one of the main guys who actually gave me a good break, and we still speak at this moment in time. So it's about, sometimes you've got to keep that direction going. You do get the kicking, you do get the snide remarks, and we still get them today, and we probably will still continue to get them.
You've worked with quite a few well-known people as well. So you've worked with the likes of Whitney Houston and the England football team. Do you think wanting to protect comes from being bullied at a young age?
Speaking for myself, I'd probably say yes. And probably most people have actually been bullied in one form or another, but don't even realise that they have been bullied. So being at the flip side of it, where you do get the good ideas, you do get the beatings, you get the name callings, etc. It makes you want to not protect somebody, but it makes you want to sometimes look after people. And some of the clients that you're looking after, or the VIPs that you're working with, they're being bullied in their own way. They could be stalked. I've looked after quite a few people. You mentioned Miss Whitney Houston there. I was brought in specifically for a different reason. You've read the book, so you probably know who I'm talking about. And, people get bullied for their status, for their image, because people are jealous. So we go all the way right away back, should we say, to where I was bullied, and it relates exactly the same with that. People are jealous. If you look at people who are getting stalked, why did he get stalked? It's jealousy. It's because people want to be in that world, and that's one of the things that as a protection officer you've got to really understand. And I think that's what makes me relate to a lot of people, because there's a little bit of empathy. I can understand it, and and it's not sympathy. I don't go there, because they're worth millions, and I'm a modest person. But my set of skills is valuable to them at that particular time. At the end of the day, I'm not worth £1 million, but I have got a certain set of skills that it's worth quite a lot of money to people. And, that's the way I work, and that's, how to think, I suppose.
And it sounds like you just kind of want to help others and want to give back. You've mentioned your book a couple of times. What inspired you to write your book?
Two footballers. Strangely enough. A couple of years ago, there was a number of football. I don't even play football. I can't stand the game. I think I played one game in all my life, and I was the worst footballer in if Nanny could come in, she'd tell you. I got sent off for sweeping somebody. And I kept hearing this thing, time, and I thought, what time? Do you want to know the time? And I think it was something to do about taking your time. So I was the worst person running up and down for 90 minutes, and no one told me it was 90 minutes long. So it was two footballers who actually said, "We never thought of writing a book, Phil." And one of them was Rocky Santa Cruz, who had a terrible ordeal. His family was, they was really badly attacked. And Jason Roberts, who is still on my LinkedIn. Jason Roberts having the full title, MBE. Again, I was with Jason for many years as a security protection officer. And they just said, "Why don't you put it down in writing and, write a book?" And that's when I started scribbling my notes. I'd already wrote a few, but not as much as I had done. And they give me the inspiration. Said, "Share it, because, you have done so well in your life." And it was just from that, just a modest conversation, really.
I read your book, and personally I found it very inspirational. So for those who are watching this, highly recommend that you go and buy the book. I'll put the link in the comments as well. Now, throughout the book, you also mentioned a couple of inspirational quotes. One of the main ones that stood out personally, I've got it here. So it said, "To all those with a dream, never give up." What does that quote mean to you?
I suppose really we've all got a vision in life. We've all wanted to achieve something in life, whether it's I was to have a boat, to have a bar, or to become a black belt. You've got to have something, and we're going right away back again to visualisation. And it's having that visualisation of something that you want to achieve.
I won't say I ever wanted to be the best. What I wanted to do was to achieve a high standard, which I have done. And there's a lot of people out there who sit there and they think, can I achieve it? Can I do it? I really want to do it, but I don't know if I can do it. And really, it's down to them to sort of say, well, I'm going to do it. Have the guts to step out of the box and do it. You know, and that's all I say to people. You've got a dream, go for it. You know, what harm is it going to do to you? You'll have the naysayers who are saying you'll never achieve it, but they're saying that for a reason, because they want to hold you back. Them are the type of people that don't want you to achieve something because they want to step on your head to get where they want to get.
Yeah.
So, you know, so people will step on your shoulders to step on your head to push you down so they can get above you. And you've just got to rise above them. And it's having your confidence as well to do it.
So how do you get that confidence?
I get the confidence from my ability. I suppose really knowing your capabilities and knowing your limitations. It's having those limitations in your mind which says, I'm not going to stop here. You know that you can go one step further. So when I won, for me, like a championship, I thought to myself, the next stage is this. The next stage is this. So it's always stepping one step forward all the time. And you're going to get that knockback. And you're going to get, you know, on karate, you get a good idea, you get your ribs broken, you get your cheeks smashed and all this nonsense. I don't even know why I did the sport. But it makes you a stronger person because you're getting that knockback and you're thinking, I'm going to push forward. And when you're competing on the mat, you've got that confidence in yourself, and you do get a dig and you think, oh, that hurts. But if you crumble when you get a dig and you think, oh, that hurts, I'm gonna give up, that's you've done. But if you step out on that mat, that's when you've got to move and you've got to push forward, even if it does hurt sometimes. I've competed, probably a bit of a lunatic, I suppose, really. I had all my ribs broken on this side. I was hit by this lad, and it was a Burnley Open Championships, and they kicked me with this washi-geri roundhouse kick. And it was like all the life had been sucked out of me. It was the most horrible pain I've ever felt in my life. I looked over at my instructor, who was my friend at the time, and it just started grinning. He said, get on with it. And after I got my breath, I carried on. I actually beat the guy, and I met him again in the team finals. And he kept going for the same side of my ribs. But I could have actually just said, I'm not competing. But we actually won the team and the individuals cumulative. And that was because I continued to fight. So you do get a knock, you do get a bit of pain. Whether you weather the pain, it's down to you. But if you want that dream and you want to push forward, that's what you've got to do. But it's just having that general focus more than anything else. That's all I say to people. Just be focused, believe in yourself. And if you do get that knock and you feel bad, just take a step back, get some time on your own, a bit of quiet space, and then just re-visualize what you want to do.
I think that's a brilliant bit of advice, and everyone who's watching this can definitely take that on board no matter what you do as well. I think that applies to a lot of things. So finally,
yes.
I have 10 very quick questions. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
If it's not karate, what would you choose?
Oh, karate. Skiing.
Reading or podcasts?
Reading.
That's interesting. Do you think we use the entire capacity of our mind?
No, you probably only use about 40%.
Really?
Well, I think you should be able to. I'm not a scientist, but I've read somewhere that people are only using a small capacity of their head or their brain. And some people will probably say, Phil, you never use any of your brain half the time.
That's really interesting, actually. So my next question, completely random, spaghetti hoops or baked beans?
Oh, baked beans.
Nice. One thing to do on your bucket list?
Sail a ship.
That's a good one, actually. Music or TV?
Music.
X Factor or Britain's Got Talent?
Oh, I work for both of them, so I'm gonna probably get hung out to dry here. Um, uh, Britain's Got Talent.
Okay. Hobnobs or digestives?
Ooh, digestives.
Nice. Who's your biggest influence?
I really don't. Probably Bruce Lee.
That makes sense, like with your karate. And one thing you would like to say to bullies?
You'll never win. You'll never win. You know, at the end of the day, you'll never win. Just keep going. You know, to all the people who've been bullied, just keep pushing forward.
Brilliant bit of advice. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I hope you all enjoyed that interview with Phil. I think there's a couple of points that really stood out and we can all learn from that. The first point that I would like to talk about is about having self-belief, and you need to have that mindset to be successful. So believe in yourself, what you want to do, and you will get there. The second point I would like to talk about is when Phil was talking about visualisation. Now, we hear this a lot in sports, especially about visualising winning, visualising being successful, but you can do that in everyday life. You can do it if you've got a board meeting, you can do it if you're going for an interview, whatever it is. Visualise the process, visualise where you want to be, and it will definitely help. Now, you can follow Phil here. If you have someone that inspires you, comment below. I'm always so interested to find out who others find inspirational. Likewise, if you have an inspirational story to tell, comment below, drop me a message on social media, or even drop me an email. On Sunday at 4 o'clock, I'll be back here speaking with Phil about how to become a bodyguard. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below, let me know what you think, and don't forget to hit subscribe. See you all on Sunday. See you later.